Last thing we needed to bring more hype to the Shadowlands was another short story. Besides those sick lo-fi beats, man. And we got it, in the form of We Ride Forth by Robert Brooks. I have to say, when it comes to short stories, this is probably the best one yet. Maybe that's because I'm a Scourge fanboy at heart, or maybe because Blizzard just knows how to make them so cool, but having a short story focused on the Knights of the Ebon Blade was exactly what we needed, considering we almost have no idea what they were doing since Legion. I will be giving you a short summary of the story first, and then we will analyze some interesting details we didn't know about, or did, but we just assumed it. The story centers around the new 4 Horsemen, formed back in Legion, consisting of Darion Morgraine, Sally Whitemane, General Nazgrim, and Thoras Trollbane, the latter 3 of which we raised in Legion's Death Knight class Hall campaign. Deathlord, i.e. our Death Knight from Legion, is nowhere to be found, so I assume they just left Acheros and the Ebon Blade in the hands of the 4 Horsemen during the 4th War, and later, well, we returned later, but we are not their leaders. The story is set just before the events of the Shadowlands cinematic trailer, so Bolvar is still the Lich King at the beginning, and it will actually focus on the 4 Horsemen's efforts to kill Bolvar. Well, why? That's because, well, the story will explain. The story starts off in Acheros with a weary and weakened Darion Morgraine laying on the floor, with Sally Whitemane pressing her blade against his neck, asking him if he is okay, which he was, but she asks him how can she be sure, and he says that he's gonna ask her to help him kill Bolvar, the Lich King. Now this is where the presence with a capital P is mentioned. Apparently Bolvar can always look into their minds at any point he wills. They cannot resist, they can try, but he can see their thoughts clear as day. We also see that the 4 Horsemen can indeed control the more feral undead around them. It is also mentioned that the undead come back to life with their souls basically damaged. This is most interesting because, well, I wonder what happens to the rest of their souls. One interesting thing that comes to mind is Uther. In the Afterlives cutscene for Bastion, we see Uther's soul torn in half. We saw one half back in Icecrown Citadel in Wrath, and that part was in Frostmourne, while the other went to Bastion, presumably merging after Arthas' demise with the half from Icecrown Citadel, though that is still not confirmed, so we can't know. Nazgrim kept his love for commanding, but Morgraine seems to have kept sorrow. I wonder if some Death Knights kept some nicer emotions, like love or happiness, though we did not really see that in the game, did we? Would be an interesting concept, I think. There is also a nice jab at the constantly shifting, changing Horde leadership, where Nazgrim says that he's not sure if Thrall or the Council or whoever is leading the Horde right now, and he didn't even bother to check. So that's as far as Nazgrim is connected with the Horde. He simply doesn't care. He's worried that he will start to care, so he keeps out of it and focuses on his duties as the Knight of the Ebon Blade. Morgraine is concerned because he can barely feel the presence at all. Just a flick of anger, according to Trollbane, who also felt it today, and that was all he felt, but that was it, and this was concerning. We also find that Darion promised Bolvar that he would not let him become like Arthas, so he tried to kill him at the Frozen Throne, but Bolvar dominated his mind and made him come back to Acheros, and that's where the story begins, but he didn't kill him. And Darion wasn't sure why, and he was kind of afraid because of it. We then cut to a flashback from Nazgrim where he recalls collecting corpses during the battles of the 4th War, bringing them back to Bolvar, who kept them below the Icecrown Citadel where they would be preserved fresh. Nazgrim wasn't sure what this was for at the beginning, but in 8.3 we can see that Bolvar raised these new champions as Knights of the Ebon Blade. However, they were untrained and this concerned Nazgrim very much, but according to Bolvar they just couldn't afford to have that much time. They didn't have that much time, they had to move quickly, but no one was sure why. We also learned that the only comfort Death Knights have is inflicting pain on death on the living, and these guys do it, man. We also learned Volva was rallying the undead for something to come. Now, why was he rallying them? Well, they also don't know at the moment, but we do, of course. It's always a once. Anyways, Acheros remained in the Broken Isles ever since Legion, but this time it was finally on the move and on its way to Icecrown. The 4 Horsemen agreed that the Lich King must die. There is this cute scene where we can see the bromance between Nazgrim and Trollbane, where Nazgrim is doing a curtsy and Trollbane saying Zog Zog, even though they would have tore each other to shreds in their past lives, but they apparently went past that, and now they're basically bros. Trollbane also wonders if Bolvar spared Darien just for him to bring the four horsemen back to Icecrown, where he would turn them into his slaves, similarly to what Arthas tried to do back in Wrath. Now was the time for Trollbane's flashback, where he begs Bolvar to let the four horsemen help him. This is where Bolvar lets on that he is worried about Sylvanas, how she upended the balance between life and death. I'll just let him say it. Her war has upended the balance between life and death. Death feasts and the power of the Helm boils, Bolvar said. The Legion turned our world into a charnel house, yet I feel nothing of the sort, then. Acheris finally reaches Dragonblight, and then they feel it. Suddenly Morgraine's eyes widened. What? He began. Whitemane felt it an instant later. The presence in her mind, the connection between her and the Lich King, was no longer dormant. For a moment it felt like it had caught fire. No, it wasn't the heat that Whitemane felt. It was the searing cold of frostbite, slowly enveloping the Lich King's presence. It's happening. High Lord, is that... Yes, Morgraine said. This is what Arthas felt like. The Helm's power. Bolvar isn't holding it back any longer. He's fallen, Whitemane asked. Yes, Morgraine said. Whitemane heard him speak in soft, mournful tone. Bolvar, I don't understand. By the light, I can feel it too, Whitemane thought. Then we get a flashback where Darien approaches the frozen throne to speak with Bolvar, begging him to let them help him, but he notices something strange. Water, melted ice, all around the frozen throne. Darien notes that 1/3 of the throne was gone. Pieces of ice fell out, particularly one at his neck. Darien thought to use this chance and strike, but before he could, Bolvar dominated his mind and sent him back to Acheris. This is moments before the story begins, and Bolvar also tells Darien that only together the four of you will have a chance to kill the wielder of the helm. We get back to the present time, and the presence allows them to see through to the Lich King. They find Sylvanas and Bolvar fighting. This is where Darien realizes they had to kill the wielder of the helm, not Bolvar particularly. Darien realized that one of them, either Sylvanas or Bolvar, would be weakened from the fight and that they would have to kill one of them at the end. Bolvar was ready to die. Then they felt Sylvanas reach out to the helm, and then pain, immense pain. Darien even threw his helmet out and fell on the floor, clutching at his temples. Then it suddenly ended. The vessel of the presence felt unoccupied, like when Arthas died. Tess felt the chains on his soul being gone one by one, feeling more free every second. Sylvanas was doing something, and we of course know that she broke the Helm of Domination. And then the sky went and shattered, sending shockwaves to Acheris. As they stabilized it, they looked to the north and saw the sky broken, Ma visible on the other side with Torghast above. A few of the crewmates went feral, and the four horsemen cut them down easily, of course. Nazgrim and Whitemane went down to the frozen throne to see if Bolvar was still there, finding him laying at the center of the plateau. Now is the best moment of the story for me personally, so I will just quote the entire part of the book. Bolvar's hand gripped the armor on her shoulder. Do you know what she's done? No, tell us when we're safe, Nazgrim said. Then you can tell us what to do next. Bolvar looked at them both with confusion. I am not the Lich King any longer, he said. A pity, Whitemane threw Bolvar's arm over her shoulder, supporting his weight. I came all this way to kill the Lich King. Rude of you to step down just as I arrive. You don't have to follow my orders, Bolvar said. Obviously, Whitemane curled her lips. Nazgrim was smiling too. You try to arrange your own death to secure victory. Loktar Ogar, Guide our blades, and we'll obey. Bolvar also asked Nazgrim to collect the pieces of the Helm of Domination, saying that they will be useful later. For what use we still don't know, but I can imagine that the helm will be reforged. I can, like 90% that will happen. I kind of feel like they will make Sylvanas either the jailer or the next Lich Queen. And this is not confirmed, this is just speculation of course, but I doubt they would just kill her. but that's speculation for some another time. And after that come the events of the Dark Abduction cutscene. The story is basically a bridge for the cinematic and the cutscene. It's a nice story, has a nice ending, sort of. Bolvar is cool again, and that is that. Thank you very much for watching. I will leave the link to the story in the description below. If you want more lore videos, let me know in the comments what you'd like me to cover, and I hope to see you in the next one. Peace.